What's up, everybody? So I've been doing it's like 12:30 p.m. on Monday, September 8th in New Hampshire, and past few days I've been listening to some different views on Islam, different things talking about Islam. Three of these different things is a comparison between Joseph Smith and Mormonism and Muhammad as the prophet. And a lot of people say that Paul in the Bible is what Jesus was referring to, the false prophet, but I think the false prophet is Muhammad, and I'll explain a little bit why probably later. But one thing was about him being a sexual deviant, just like Joseph Smith, who started Mormonism. The second thing is that there's a good chance that Muhammad didn't even exist, and there's a Christian historian that talks about how in the language that the Quran was written in, like the way that they translate things into, if they say there's persecution of a certain people, they'll make it out to be like Islam, but it was actually the Christians that were being persecuted. Or like when they talk about Muhammad and all the things he went through, it actually was Jesus they were talking about, and they transformed a lot of the Jewish and the Christian literature into saying that it was Muhammad that did this and Muhammad did that. But the people that wrote about these instances, it was impossible for them to have firsthand accounts of it, because it was written so many different years later, hundreds of years later. And in the Christian case, the latest you could possibly date out people writing down what they saw happen to Jesus was 60 years out. So there's a definite difference in when their writings were written and when ours were written, although obviously the Old Testament goes back to Adam and Eve. But they're referred to in the Book of the Bee as the wild ass of the desert, because they take their lineage from Hagar, which is Abraham's princess, slave wife, whatever you want to call it, from Egypt or whatever. Sarah took her from there's stories that are not in the Bible, so you have to go outside the Bible to know some things. But and I don't mean Muslim texts, I mean Christian texts that were taken out. And so you find out that Abraham was basically captured by the Egyptians. He stayed there for 2 years or something, and during that time, and this happened twice, I think, so it was two different accounts, and I think it happened twice. But basically, Sarah was so beautiful, she was kidnapped basically and taken by the king of Egypt. Then he let him go with a bunch of servants, and one of the servants given to Sarah was, and this all happened because an angel slapped the crap out of the Pharaoh for even trying to touch Sarah, because God said that she was married to Abraham in this life and the next, and all this other stuff. But basically, so Hagar was the servant princess that was given to Sarah, and then Sarah said, "We can't have kids, have sex with my maidservant so you can have kids." That became Ishmael, being the firstborn. But if you go into the study of the pearl, which the pearl is the spirit of the firstborn, that's basically this righteous spirit that comes down. Sometimes it comes to the actual firstborn, and sometimes it goes to the second, it went to Jacob, but it didn't go to Esau, and things like that. So it passed over Ishmael and it went to Isaac instead. So from Isaac, then it went to Jacob. So it went Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. And then that's kind of why they're the three patriarchs, because sometimes it would skip to the first, to the second. So it's weird how it works, and it's a spiritual thing that you have to read about to understand the full aspect of what I'm talking about. But I think it's in either the Cave of Treasures or the Book of the Bee, or one of, I forget which one. But basically, there's a lot of different things that Islam claims that were really Christian and Jewish things that they kind of stole. Even some of the stuff that they do at Mecca, they stole it from the Christians and the Jews. And then they say there's not even enough evidence proving Jesus exists, but there's there's no proof that Muhammad exists. It's all basically just hearsay. They could have even made the dude up, but if they didn't make him up, in their own writings, there's 54 or something writings that say that he was influenced by the devil to do a certain thing. And then how could he be such a great prophet if he was influenced by the devil and tricked by the devil to do something? That's number one. Number two, Jesus never took a bride, period, and he's taken child brides like that are 9. And I'm not comparing Jesus to Muhammad, but people do compare the two religions. And one of the things I was just thinking about is that, like, in the Jewish writings, it says, out of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses shall a matter be established. And a lot of times in Islam, they take this same principle, but yet they only have one witness. Muhammad is the only witness. He doesn't have a second. Just like John and Peter would go out preaching together, there's 2 of them. Go out 2 by 2, go out by 2s and preach the gospel, because there's 2 witnesses. There's 2 people saying that they did it. 2 people, always 2 people. But in Islam, there's only, so like Jesus had 6 times 2. He had 12 disciples that went out by 2s and preached the gospel. All Islam has is one dude telling you to do this and that and this, which is like all the legalistic crap they stole from the Jews who weren't doing the correct thing anyway, as it says in the Epistle of Barnabas, and which David knew and Moses knew, because they're mentioned in the Epistle of Barnabas talking about spiritual maxims that Islam stole. So you can't really take a religion seriously if everything that they have is stolen. The stuff that was given to the Jews came directly from God, and they still misinterpreted it and were taught demonic things. That's what it said. Jesus said, Jesus says, like, all the time, did I ever tell you to slaughter this animal or that? Did I ever? All the stuff that they were doing, like, he says, I'm sick of your new moons and your Sabbaths. I can't away with them like that. I'm sick of your sacrificing bulls and all this stuff. He's like, when did I ever even tell you to do that? It was all these things these laws that they made up according to their own understanding, because the demon taught it to them the wrong way. So a demon taught the people the wrong thing. That's why you need to go directly to Jesus for all your info. Why? Because he never was corrupted by any demon telling him anything. He was the one who, they said, one greater than Solomon has come, because Solomon, in the Testament of Solomon, was given a pentacle ring by God the Father to control the demons. Jesus did not need a ring to control demons, because he is God. As it says in the Gospel of Nicodemus, Satan and death are talking, and it's saying, I fear that he is God, because he pulled Lazarus out of my bosom after 4 days being dead. See, so he can't be corrupted like Muhammad could be corrupted, because he didn't listen to demons, because he's the one who cast them out of his kingdom. And he then came down to this kingdom at the behest of God, which it says in the Ascension of Isaiah that they also took out. And every book I just mentioned is a book they took out. That's why you need to know these books. They're the truth, and the truth sets you free, so you don't fall into these traps and these things that they say that are not true. Anyways, just a quick thing I wanted to talk about Islam and Muhammad, and the fact that their religion is fake and has no bearing, and Christianity is true, but we have some work to do to iron out the things that we have not ironed out, because we have all been fighting amongst ourselves for so long. And once they are ironed out, I think that all different peoples around the world are going to figure out that Jesus is the Son of God. It's prophesied to happen. Enoch said it's going to happen. And I mean, like, can you just, like, imagine a world where, like, there's no more sin, no more decay, no more getting up for work, no more any of the bad stuff in the world, no more diseases or anything. You can, like, jump in a lake and go swimming all day, jump back out, start flying around, going to different galaxies, going to worship God for 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day, going into his holy houses and learning about all the different things that they lied to us about, that you never got a chance to study because you're working so hard down here in Satan's world. Just seeing all the babies that were aborted and how happy they are living in bliss with God, and not worrying about the fact that every day they get murdered and slaughtered, not worrying about your children dying because they're going to live forever. Like, does anybody even realize that this is, like, the place that we're promised by God? Like, it's amazing. Our God is amazing. There's only love that comes from our God. We don't want to torture people if they don't believe what we think. We're ready to give our lives to preach this gospel, to give our lives, not to take a life. because you don't believe it. And that's what Islam does. They want to take your life if you don't believe it. In our religion, you don't have to force us or force anybody to do anything like that to believe. I just believe it, and I'll let you kill me if you really want to kill me over it. I'll let you kill me over it. That's the difference. Anyways, God bless. I hope you have a great day. Take care.